Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you another Walking Dead video. And Walking Dead video, what are you talking about? The season ended, right? Season 5 closed off with the finale Conquer just this past Sunday. But despite that, despite me not being able to do weekly reviews again until October, and I'll probably be reviewing the spinoff at some point this summer, Fear the Walking Dead. I'll probably be reviewing those 6 episodes. But as far as the original series goes, we won't be seeing another review on that from me for a while, until season 6 starts in October. But despite that, I wanted to do a few miscellaneous type Walking Dead videos, and by miscellaneous I mean sort of general discussions about the show. And this video right here is going to be talking about my top 5 favorite characters that are still alive. And obviously this contains spoilers if you haven't seen the finale or are not caught up on the show to the point it's at. Because obviously if I say a character, that means that character's still alive, and that kind of spoils part of the story, right? So, yeah, I'll put spoilers in the title. And, so I plan on doing this video right here, my top 5 favorite characters that are still alive. And then I'll do another separate video talking about my top 5 or top 10 favorite characters in The Walking Dead, alive or dead. So I'll be able to talk about characters like Shane and Herschel, Dale, Merle, stuff like that. But this one's just going to be talking about the survivors that we still have on the show right now, that we know are still alive to this point in the series. And I'll just go right down the list from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. And if you see the thumbnail, it kind of gives it away already who's in my list. But nonetheless, I did want to talk about it verbally. And number 5, my 5th favorite character that's still alive at this point in the series would have to be Tara Chambler. And Tara Chambler is, of course, played by Alanna Masterson, and who is actually, I believe, the sister or a relative of the actor who played Francis on Malcolm in the Middle, which is kind of a lesser-known fact about her. They don't really look too much alike, but occasionally when I look at her, I can see a little bit of resemblance. But as far as her character goes, I just find her to be insanely likable. The way Alanna portrays her, the way she acts as the character is just really, it makes you enjoy her being around. She's a fun character. She's not one of the most important characters we have on the show right now. I mean, she didn't really get that much time in season 5, but she still has had some fairly solid moments throughout the show since she's been on, I think. If you guys remember, we seen her first appearance back in season 4, I believe in the episode Live Bait, which was episode 6 of season 4, I want to say. Remember, that was the first episode where that first solo governor episode we had, where we seen where he's been at, after seeing him watching the prison at the end of the episode before. With the governor wandering around, he runs into little Megan, the little girl, Tara herself, and her sister Lily. And, of course, you guys know that Lily doesn't survive, and neither does Megan, neither does the governor. But that is when we first met Tara, and, she does the whole fist bump thing. She tries to do that with the governor. Of course, that doesn't work. But, so that was when we first seen her. And, she was involved. At first, she was going to be involved with the assault on the prison we seen in the mid-season finale, episode 8 of season 4, Too Far Gone, which is one of the best episodes in the series, by the way. Better than any actual season finale we've gotten. Or at least right up there beside the Dying Fire in season 2, in my opinion. And, we've seen how scared she was all this was going on. I think a lot of the characters that the governor had taken over from Martinez were, really scared about, what is this guy really doing? I mean, we see this one guy coming out here making this whole speech about not, having any death, pretty much, with Rick's speech, which is still one of the best acting moments from Andrew Lincoln in the series. And, of course, they see him take off Herschel's head, with Michonne's sword. And yeah, you see Tara, she's just getting really scared of him. She sort of like runs off. And after the whole carnage at the prison, she sort of like meets up with Glenn and she helps him out. And she feels an extreme amount of guilt for having a hand in what happened. As far as Herschel dying and everything else that went on at the assault on the prison. And so she sort of like feels the need to help Glenn find Maggie, so they travel together for a while, which I thought was really cool. But of course she has extreme remorse for being involved in it at all, even though she was never directly responsible for any of it. So that part of her character is definitely good, and I don't want to go on for too long in this video, but of course she's also can be a bit of a comic relief at times, and she can be really funny. She's a lesbian, and with Aaron being on the show too, people make such a big deal about a gay character being on the show. It doesn't really matter as long as it feels like natural and organic to the character they have in that with that sexuality. I mean, and Tara everyone seems to forget she's supposed to be a lesbian, and she did have that girlfriend that was killed on that same assault in the prison. So yeah, she's definitely a sort of unique character, I think. And she's definitely likable, and we've seen her and Eugene sort of forming this friendship. She sort of like talks to him when no one else really will, and sort of like helps him out a little bit, gives him a friend, despite she gets a little irritated eventually by how much of a coward he is. But when Aiden makes that whole mistake of shooting that grenade in episode 14 Spend of season 5, she is injured, she is knocked out, potentially a fatal head injury. And Eugene actually rescues her and fends off walkers long enough to get her to safety. And we've seen her wake up in the season finale this past Sunday, so she's okay. So I'm kind of hoping her friendship or relationship with Eugene deepens. I'm not saying she's going to turn bi or straight or whatever, but I just can't wait to see more interaction between the two. I feel like it could be a good little friendship, side story they have for the show. And yeah. I'm worried about Tara long term, though, I will admit. With this whole Wolves thing starting up, for next season, I'm a little bit worried about her. And I know we're probably going to get more deaths, considering you only got, like, Beth, Tyrese, and Bob, and stuff like that. Noah, of course, but... So I feel like Tara's one of the ones at risk here. But, hey, she survived Season 5 and Season 4, so I'm pretty happy about that. I hope she survives for a very long time. If Tara dies, we riot. How about that one? But yeah, so I don't want to go on for too long with this video, but Tara, very likable character. She can be pretty funny, and I really like how Alanna Masterson plays the character in general. So yeah, number 5, favorite character still alive, would be Tara Chambler. Number 4 would be Danai Gurira's Michonne. Now Michonne is definitely my favorite female character on the show, above Tara, obviously, as you can see by the list. And I definitely put her above. Back to like Tara, of course. A lot of people would be shocked that I would put her over characters like Carol and Maggie and stuff like that. But I'm just like more entertained by her character. I'm more intrigued by her character. Yes, Carol's got an extreme amount of development, but she's not entirely believable with the way she can fight. We're supposed to believe that she's this Rambo, and I don't really buy it too much, but I do appreciate her development as a character. But we can talk about that some other time. So I put Tara over Maggie and Carol and stuff like that, and the other female characters besides Michonne. Now, as far as Michonne goes, definitely my favorite female character, and she was introduced right at the end of Season 2, at the end of Beside the Dying Fire. We've seen her in her hooded form, when she rescued Andrea from a group of walkers after Andrea had been separated from the group, when that horde was destroying the farm and the barn and stuff like that. It was a different actress. It was like a stand-in they had playing Michonne at the end of that, though. So Danai Gurira's first appearance as Michonne, was in the early part of Season 3. And, it's cool seeing her, getting instantly suspicious of what the governor was all about in Woodbury and stuff like that. And one of my favorite things about Michonne is her friendship, her relationship with Rick and Carl. In season 4, after the assault on the prison, we see, them three spend quite a bit of time together. And it's not just me, but I'm picking up like a second mother dynamic that she has going on with Carl to a certain degree, because Carl likes her, and Rick seemed to like really enjoy Carl having like another female figure to go to and talk to and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm definitely a Michonne shipper. Yes, I'm a shipper. I think Michonne or not Maggie. I think Michonne and Rick just would make a whole lot of sense as a couple. After the time they spent together in season 4, especially. In season 5, they did butt heads a little bit, but they still had some good moments with each other, and Michonne sort of solidifying that she still has Rick's back if it had to come to that, even though she doesn't want the situation forced by them. And yeah, of course, Michonne, she uses her katana. It's one of the more unique ways of killing walkers we have on the show. And, so she's just, people can get tired of the walker kills with a sword by now, but still, it's nonetheless one of the more fun ways to watch zombies get slaughtered. And I just think she's played really well by Danai Gurira. Danai Gurira, if you watch videos of her, she's like really bright. She's really a happy, energetic, open person. And Michonne is like, the complete opposite of that, at least for the earlier part of that we've seen of her character. She's very stoic, and we know she had actually lost her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friend, and she had actually lost her child as well, and that's very sad. She, her boyfriend and the boyfriend's friend, were actually the two walkers she was initially like dragging along on chains, to like mask herself from other walkers, which I thought was a really good strategy. Cutting off the jaw so they couldn't bite her. Knocking out the teeth and stuff like that, and then also, taking out the arms so they can, like, scratch or try to tear her open or something like that. Which I thought was, like, a really clever thing that we had never seen anything like in The Walking Dead before. And I could go on and on about Michonne's character. And, Danai Gurira plays the stoic side of her really well, but it was really, really cool seeing her become brick by brick more open to certain group members and more trusting, and she just became more and more established as like one of the most integral parts of our surviving group. And I'm excited to see where they take her character. I still hope Rick and Michonne are like a long-term plan, but we'll see where it goes. Nonetheless, I hope she's around for almost the entire series. I'd love to see that. So yeah, number 4 favorite character still alive would be Michonne. Excuse me. And before we get on to number 3, I did want to talk about the fact that, with Michonne, knocking out Rick, as I explained before, in Try, she is doing it to help him as well as help the group being in Alexandria, themselves. People are getting, like, really inappropriate about it. They're, using all these over-the-top names for, calling her disloyal, things I don't really want to repeat. And it's like they took that too far. So stop hating on Michonne and see that she's still a trustworthy character. So yeah, if they actually listen to the exchange between her and Rick, you have to buy into that, come on. But yeah, enough about Michonne. Great female character, my favorite on the show. Number 3, my number 3 favorite character still alive would have to be Daryl Dixon. Of course, Norman Reedus does a very consistent job playing the character, and he was actually a character that you wouldn't really expect to have been around this long if you go back and watch the first season and maybe like the earlier part of season 2. But his character just like really took off. Of course, he has this huge cult following, with all these fangirls saying they'll never watch the show again if he dies. I'm not gonna go that far. I do like the character to a fairly decent level, but I'm not gonna quit watching the show if one single character dies. Unless, of course, they kill Rick and they carry on and drag on with the original series, but hopefully that'll never happen. But Daryl's not my favorite because I think he's hot. I'm not really a fangirl, at least when it comes to this. He's had such a great amount of development since season 2 especially. And from where he was in season 1 compared to what kind of character he is to the group now, it's been a really good transformation for him. And like I said, his whole relationship with Merle and stuff like that, it's really complicated, seeing the layers of that, especially when they met each other again in season 3. And unfortunately, Daryl had to put him down in the end after Merle tried to kill the governor in a somewhat redeeming act before his death. I also love the conversation Merle had with Michonne before he did all that too. But we can talk about that once we talk about Merle in the video. Talking about Daryl here. And, Daryl, he is just like this really angry, closed off guy in season 1. And that's because of the abuse we know he went through as a child and as, just growing up in general. And, from Merle and his father as well, we see the scars on his back. And we know Merle had eventually left him alone with their father, and that caused more psychological damage. And so he has this dark backstory to him, this sad backstory to him, really. And the character really starts to take shape in season 2, where he searches and searches for Sophia for Carol. And we see what lengths he goes to for Carol to find Sophia. And with Carol telling him he's as good as Rick and Shane, maybe better. And just that whole angle Carol and Daryl had starting that season really helped elevate Daryl's character. And so that was all very good. Of course, Mr. Crossbow, it's one of the more unique ways we have on the show of killing walkers. It's, his signature weapon. So it's always fun to watch. And, I'm not as crazy about him as some other fans are. I did list him as my number 3 though, but he would go a bit lower on my all-time favorite characters list of The Walking Dead. If I were counting characters that are dead as well, like Shane and stuff like that. But as far as characters alive goes, he's my number 3 because despite me, I've complained about him on sites like Spoil the Dead before because I feel like he hasn't been as interesting since season 2. Early season 3 maybe. But he's just played so consistently well by Norman Reedus, and he has this he still has this mystery and intrigue about him. And I like his kind of growing friendship with Rick, how much trust and respect they have for each other. And, that whole dynamic I really enjoy as well. And so, just for what Daryl represents and what he is, and what development he's had since the earlier part of the series, I can't really not put him on this list, to be honest. So, yeah, my number 3 favorite character left alive right now would be Daryl Dixon. I know I might be running through characters and what I have to say about them a little bit faster than I was earlier, but like I said, I'm not trying to make this video overly long. So yeah, my number 3 favorite character left alive would be Daryl Dixon. And my number 2 favorite character still alive today in the series would be Morgan Jones, played by Lennie James. Brilliant actor, man, because we see him in the very first episode of the show, and then, him and Rick sort of go their separate ways, with the walkie-talkies and stuff like that. And we don't see Morgan again until season 3 in the episode Clear, which is a great episode, by the way, as was The Days Gone By, the pilot, very first episode. And then, him and Rick sort of go their separate ways after we learn that Morgan had actually... Morgan, we see initially he was struggling with putting down his wife, who had become a walker. And by the time we see him in season 3 in Clear, we find out that it looked like his wife, his zombified wife, of course, was killing his son, and he just couldn't pull a trigger. And when he finally put his wife down, it was too late. His son died as well. He had to see all that happen and put his wife down at the same time. And just a really tragic story, so him and Rick have been through, similar pain, similar experiences in the zombie apocalypse, except Rick's always had this group with him. Rick's gone through a hell and back, but he's always had people to sort of rely on, people to support him. But Morgan's been by himself for the majority of the zombie apocalypse, as far as we know. And so just what he's been through just adds so much weight and depth to the character and complexity that I just find him really interesting in that regard. And whenever Lennie James is on screen as a character, he steals the show acting-wise. He just takes it and knocks it out of the park. He Lennie James is just a fantastic actor in general, and he just really, like I said, knocks out of the park when he's on the screen. And I like the respect and the care him and Rick have for each other, with like sort of being the first people they initially met when it all happened. And, of course, he had a significant role showing Rick the ropes of the zombie apocalypse when he first woke up. Despite, his son Dwayne knocking him over the head with a shovel and things like that. And we started seeing him again in Season 5. We've seen a brief appearance by him, slowly following behind Rick and the group's trail unknowingly. And we see he's following these marks on trees and stuff like that. And eventually in the mid-season finale of Season 5, we see him arrive at the church. And we see he finds this map that, that shows the route they're taking to Washington, D.C. And he sees the message that Abraham had written to Rick, apologizing for being such an asshole. And, the new world's going to need Rick Grimes. And so at that point, Morgan knew Rick was still alive as well. But of course, he might not know necessarily where they're going. But once he looked at that map, he probably could have figured that maybe Rick's still a part of this and he's heading this way. And we don't see Morgan again until this past Sunday in the Season 5 finale, Conquer. Just a brilliant appearance by Morgan. We see him, he is confronted by the two wolves characters we were introduced to. And he just busts out these Jedi combat skills here with his staff he has. And he just, takes both guys out with such calculation and ease. It's really badass. And one of the more unique ways we've seen of fighting on the show. Like Michonne's katana, like Daryl's crossbow, and stuff like that. And, they've hinted that Morgan could have possibly ran across someone since we last seen him in Season 3. That sort of maybe, helped set him straight, because we see in Season 5, he seems to be a lot more sane than he is in Season 3, after losing his wife and his son and stuff like that. He seems to be much more level-headed, and, he has a better hold of himself, pretty much. And so a lot of people are theorizing that I did run into someone that sort of helped him, readjust and, regain control of himself, of his sanity, anyway. And maybe that same character also helped him out with combat training. One of my potential theories is maybe it was this character we have yet to be introduced to, Jesus. I know it's a character from the comic books. I know he's quite talented in physical combat as well. So maybe that's how Jesus will be introduced, and maybe Morgan will already know him. I don't know. But either way, it's good to see Morgan have a better outlook despite everything going on again at this point. And, he also saves Daryl and Aaron from that horde of walkers that are surrounding the car they're in. And, when Daryl asks him why he rescued them, he says, "Why? Because all life is precious, Daryl." And that's a completely different outlook from what he had in Season 3. And I also like the booby traps he had set up in Season 3 as well, so he's very clever, a very intelligent survivor. And he would have to be for surviving mostly on his own for so long. And yeah, so Morgan is just a great, great character, played in a fantastic way by Lennie James. And I really hope with him finally coming to the Alexandria Safe Zone with Daryl and Aaron and meeting up with Rick again, after seeing him kill Pete, but nonetheless meeting up with Rick again. I'm hoping Lennie James and Morgan becomes a season regular on the show for Season 6 and onward, because I would love to see how he integrates with the rest of the group and what him and Rick have to say to each other. Excuse me. So I really hope he's promoted to a season regular and he survives for a very, very long time. I never want to see Morgan die. But yeah, my number 2 favorite character left alive today in the series would be Morgan Jones. And yeah, we're just about done with this video, except for number 1. My favorite character left alive today, and probably my favorite character in general on the show, alive or dead, would be our main lead, Rick Grimes, played by Andrew Lincoln. And Andrew Lincoln, he's an actor I didn't really know too much about. I didn't really know about him at all, to be honest, before I started watching the show. But he just really took this role and just killed it, man. He was always a very solid actor in the role since season 1, but every season, he's improved brick by brick, even though he was already good in the first place. And he shows Rick's psychological torment, Rick's morals, showing the pain of what he's been through with losing Lori and stuff like that, all the people he's seen die, and just the stress of leading this group of survivors we have on the show. He just portrays that so well. And Rick himself as a character, he's the character we've been following since the very beginning. We've been on his journey, and I know we'll see Rick die eventually in the show. I sort of feel like that's going to happen within like a few seasons maybe, or like by the end of the series anyway. And we'll have the whole Carl maybe taking over angle going on, I don't know. But I just feel like the show should probably end with Rick, the original series. People talk about, the show could go for 10 or 12 more seasons. No, I think that's stretching it a bit. I think that's leading the show out a little bit too much. But I feel like whenever Rick dies, the show should probably end right when that happens, or like right after that happens. So I feel like the show should begin and end with Rick, at least the original series, and if they want to do more, just rely on the spin-off show. But as far as Rick goes, we've had such a journey with him, from his friendship with Shane to Lori to being completely on his own to where he's trying to get with Jesse now. And just my favorite season for his character would have to be season 3, seeing his pain of losing Lori. Yes, the initial reaction scene of him sobbing was like a little bit, he probably could have acted it a bit differently to make it a little bit more, I don't know, like, people like make fun of that scene a lot, of Rick's reaction to Lori's death, but I think it really showed the initial pain and the trauma of knowing that he's never going to see his wife alive again. And when you cry, when you're like really, really upset, you have that ugly cry face. You have like uncontrollable sobbing, really, if you're really just completely gutted. That's going to happen, so I don't really think he can blame the way Andrew Lincoln portrayed Rick in that scene. I think it was a very, very emotional and well-acted scene. And just seeing how Rick, sort of like lost his sanity temporarily. Okay. Sorry about that. I am going to watch the season finale again with my dad since he didn't see it Sunday. But anyway, just seeing how he was just so like cold and like secluded, mentally from what was going on around him for a while after that. Telling, like Herschel, he's been seeing like Lori and Shane hallucinating and stuff like that. And yeah, just imagine after all Rick has seen and then losing the person he loves the most, what would that really do to you? That would snap you mentally, psychologically. Oh man, I just can't even imagine what he went through with all that. And Andrew Lincoln played it so well, like I said before. And you could really feel for the character to this day. You can still see the scars on him from it, like the mental and emotional wounds he has from it all, and from all he's seen. And you just really feel for the character. And I hope he finds some kind of main love interest that lasts him for the rest of the series again at some point. I really hope it's Michonne, but I just want to see Rick happy again eventually. And of course, he's a very good father to Carl. And his whole thing with Shane, the torment of having to kill his best friend, and everything I wanted with that was just really hard for the character, and he's been through the most out of anyone, in my opinion. I think, well, at least almost as much as anyone anyway. And so my number one favorite character left alive would definitely be Rick Grimes. He's the reason why I still watch the show. He's the reason why I still care as much about the show as I do. There's a point where, like before, where I didn't think The Walking Dead was nearly as good as it was before, like in season 1, 2, and part of 3. It's still a very good show, mind you, but it has lessened in certain aspects to a certain extent, I think. But despite that, Rick's been what's carried the show for me through it to get back into it again. And I am back into it again, and Rick is the one that's clinging on to carry me to that point again. And without Rick, I don't think I'd be nearly as invested in the show as I am. So number one favorite character left alive is Rick Grimes, and he's probably my favorite character on the show in general as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. I will run through the list again really quickly. My fifth favorite character left alive would have to be Chambler, played by Alanna Masterson. My fourth favorite would be Michonne, played by Danai Gurira. And my third favorite would be Daryl Dixon, played by Norman Reedus. My second favorite would be Morgan Jones, played by Lennie James. And my number one would, of course, be Rick Grimes, played by Andrew Lincoln. So yeah, he should have definitely won an Emmy, a couple Emmys for his performance in the show by now. Come on, seriously. I'm tired of The Walking Dead getting snubbed. But yeah, so that's my list. I'm not sure if I'll do like a video talking about my top favorite characters, alive or dead, because that'd only like make slight changes to it. I'd put like Shane at number 2 or 3, and I'd put guys like Herschel and Merle and the Governor in there as well. I might do that sometime, but it's not gonna be like an immediate thing. I will do another miscellaneous Walking Dead video. I plan on that being discussing my favorite season of the show so far, so you can look forward to that at some point, as well as whatever other videos I upload. And I do plan on reviewing Game of Thrones when that starts in April, on April 12th. So yeah, that to look forward to as well. But yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed this, and peace. Can't believe we have to wait till October for Season 6.